Hello, friend, and welcome to Borgcast 1.9, where we're covering the episode Dagger of the Mind.
Dagger of the Mind!
But before that,
good news, everyone.
Lower Decks Season 2 starts in the UK on the 13th of August.
13! 13! 13! 13! Now you got it? Damn it!
A day behind the United States. That's great news.
Bad news, everyone.
We're on holiday.
Yeah, we are. Like we were when they released that episode by accident last year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? Who releases stuff in August? Honestly, I thought September was when you released new stuff. Everybody's on holiday in August. It's madness. Oh. Never mind. So anyway, we've got one more episode of the original series to go, more of which later, and then we'll be breaking for Lower Decks, and I'll explain in a bit how we'll be covering that. But basically, the first episode we'll be covering on the 24th of August.
Yep. Our 25th wedding anniversary.
Bizarrely, yes. Right, let's get stuck into Dagger of the Mind, which is a quote from Macbeth.
The trade to Holford stores, but we may come in.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yes, but kind of makes sense to the episode. I can live with this episode title, I think.
Yeah.
It was written by S. Bar David, a.k.a. Scheiman Winselberg, who escaped Nazi Germany during the persecution. Oh. So he'd have a word or two to say about unethical treatments, no doubt.
Yeah.
One or two Trek scripts he wrote. He also wrote for Lost in Space and The Time Tunnel. And he liked...
What's The Time Tunnel? I thought that was the Doctor Who credits.
No, it's a TV series in the US.
Oh, okay.
And he likes his references to Greek mythology, as we'll be finding out. There's a few of those dotted around.
Oh, okay.
It was directed by Vincent McEvity, which is his second Trek gig after Balance of Terror.
It makes me think of that bloody Cats. That's McCafferty, isn't it?
Yeah, don't go to that place.
Oh, that fucking milk thing. Just no.
No.
I still can't believe we bought that.
We thought we could hire it and we couldn't. It was for another podcast. Anyway, blame the Brothers Wilson.
Yes.
Captain's log, stardate 2715.1. Exchanged cargo with Penal Colony and Tantalus 5.
All sections go to alert condition 3. We may have an intruder aboard.
Oh!
Don't you remember? The science lab Christmas party?
Yes, I remember.
You dropped in?
Yes, I remember.
Well, I won't let you take me back. I'm not going. I'll die first. You're here. I'm not going. No!
Kirk to Enterprise.
Oh! Kirk! To Enterprise!
So, you've got these packages of infrasensory drugs for a penal colony being beamed down. They won't energise. And Kirk says to the transporter chief, "You're having trouble."
This is Lieutenant Berkeley, last seen in science colours in The Man Trap.
Oh, okay.
Although he started in red in that episode, so it's very confusing. Originally, this was going to be Scotty operating the transporter, but producer Bob Justman nixed that idea to save on money, basically.
Oh, okay. And basically, he didn't contact them to ask them to release the force field, which is the basic penal colony procedures. And when he does, then they beam it down, and then they say, "We've got one to beam up to you."
Why is the captain bothering himself with transporter operations? Surely that's a bit beneath him. It's bizarre.
Well, not necessarily. A captain of a ship would regularly walk round the ship, so he just happens to have come in and he can see they've got a problem, so therefore he engages with it. So he was...
Really? I wouldn't have thought a captain would have time to wander around his ship on the off chance that somebody's getting something wrong like that. But anyway.
No, it's not on the off chance that something's getting wrong. It's a part of making sure that everybody's okay.
Uh-huh.
Morale check type.
I would have thought that'd be
making sure your
more
ship's okay.
first officer type job than a captain job, but there we go. Anyway.
Possibly. I don't know. Maybe it depends how big the ship is. I don't know. See, in my brain, this Enterprise is tiny because it's tiny.
I mean, it's a lot smaller than the D. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if Picard toured the D, it'd take him a week.
Yes.
But at least it's nicely carpeted.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, he says, you need to... They beam up this crate, and it says sort of, do not open. And then...
We have crate expectations.
Oh, God. So you see the lid move, and it's a person.
Simon Van Gelder! First of 2 original series appearances from Morgan Woodward, who played Cayman, the lizard man, in Battle Beyond the Stars, although you'd never recognise him because he was under a ton of makeup.
He was a lizard man, yeah.
Yes. He was a regular in Dallas and in the A-Team.
Uh-huh.
And he's great in this, I think. He does a wonderful sort of battling his own mind sort of thing.
Yeah.
Although Sprog 2 did think he was a bit Doc Brown.
Yes. They went, I'm in the future, great Scott. So he sort of appears, and then you've got, just lifts the lid briefly, and then you've got Kirk going to the transporter dudes, you should brush up on penal colony procedures. And he's like, yes, of course I will, sir. And then once the captain's gone, he gets out the crate and he does a judo chop and takes out the transporter dude, who isn't wearing a red shirt, it's a red boiler suit.
Yes.
But it
still counts.
He was wearing red death.
But he's not dead, though.
Well, no, that's true. He's just injured. Then the dude from the crate who's really sweaty.
Van Gelder.
Yes, he's escaping and he's sort of looking where can he go next, and that's your teaser.
Yep.
And as teasers go, that's a good teaser.
Crazy Guy on the Loose, that's a decent trazer. Yes, teaser even.
Yes, trazer?
Trazer, yeah, that's a thing now. Yeah.
Yes.
We watch the trazer.
Yes.
It's a cross between a trailer and a teaser.
Oh, a teletrazer is a trazer.
Yes.
Right. And then you have the captain's log, which, interestingly, he's recording it into a tricorder that then he only passes to a yeoman.
Yeah, and a male yeoman at that, which is even better.
So, I don't know, what do they do now? Do you think they type them? They used to write them in an actual ledger.
They just press a button on the chair now and speak into it, don't they?
No, I mean actual captains.
Right. I don't know. Maybe
because historically they wrote in a ledger, so
yes.
do they now type it, do you think?
I would have thought they'd probably speak into
dictate
something.
it?
Yes, I would have thought so.
Okay. Because they have to keep a log.
I feel another job for Andy coming on.
Yes! I do a bit. Sorry, Andy. We do tend to find them. Well, one of the things I want to know as well about a captain's log is, do they actually share sort of personal thoughts and that, like a diary?
Captain's personal log as opposed to captain's log.
Yeah, but do they keep those
I don't know.
as well? Are they supposed to? Do they have to? Do they just, as something to do when you're bored? I don't know. Anyway, and Andy can find out.
Yes, because he's our slave now. Our minion. Naval minion. What rank are you? I'm a minion.
So the captain's log basically says that they've exchanged cargo with Tantalus 5 and nobody beamed down. And then they get a message come through from Tantalus 5 saying, we're ever so sorry, but we can't locate one of our inmates. He might have escaped in that box we sent you.
Whoops.
Whoops. And then they get a call. Someone goes, you from engineering. And then it's like, oh, somebody spotted him. So they make a call into the bridge. And so now they know that he might be might be in engineering uniform. So it's another red shirt goes down. And then you get this strange thing from Spock where he's like, your culture glorified organised violence but deplored it privately. Which I think is supposed to be a reference to war, I think.
No, presumably, yes.
Okay. But we've also glorified private violence as well in movies all the time. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure the distinction's necessarily there.
Yeah, what Spock would make a commando, I do not know.
I can just see him raising an eyebrow at the...
All the way through, to be honest, yeah.
Yeah, or particularly at the, I said I'd kill you last, I lied. I can just imagine a raised eyebrow at that point.
This film is illogical.
So McCoy's like, oh, of course you have a solution. He said, well, yeah, no emotion, there's no motive for violence.
Yes, it doesn't quite check out, as we'll find out in a later episode.
So then Van Gelder appears on the bridge, gun in hand, asking for asylum. And they're like, a gunpoint?
Yeah, and he's like, who's Captain Kirk? Which one of you is Captain Kirk? And stupidly, Captain Kirk goes, I'm Captain Kirk, and so's my wife.
Yeah. And then he says, I'm not going back to Tantalus, I want your word.
Pantalus. I'm not going pantless, he says. It was far too uncomfortable. Commando in these overalls.
Spock would raise his eyebrows at that commando and all.
Pantless penal colony, my heavens.
Penal colony, as I thought.
Yeah. It's a new and unusual punishment. Prisoners are not allowed pants. Oh, the chafing. Let me out. I'm a reformed man.
I've got it stuck in my zipper again.
Wow. I think we could reform the prison movement, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. Probably against the Geneva Convention, though, I suspect.
Sorry, it was my drunken writing. I had actually written Pantalus, but never mind. That's what it is now, it's Pantalus, so there you go. He says, I'm not going back. But...
Tantalus, by the way, is another Greek reference. So.
Is it?
Yeah. Ding.
Presumably where we get the word tantalising?
That I'm not sure, but I do have some notes about it somewhere. Yes, he was the son of Zeus.
Zeus had a lot of sons, though, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. That doesn't narrow it down much, does it?
It's not quite the same as the sons of Moog, but...
Yeah.
And anyway, so Spock does the nerve pinch, and so now they're turning around and heading back for the colony. So they've got him in sickbay, and Bones wants to study him, and he's very sweaty. And he says, my name is Simon Van Gelder. I was the director at Tantalus, assistant to... sort of... Bleh. And then he says, you know, erased and can't remember.
I don't remember. I don't recall. I got no memory of anything at all. I don't remember. I don't recall. I got no memory of anything at all.
Oh, nice.
And that's basically the problem. He can't remember anything. And Bones is like, he's not consistent, it's not making sense, but there's enough here to worry me, which is, you know, fair enough. Meanwhile, Spock has found a tape on Dr. Simon
He's
Gelder.
doing space Google.
Yes.
Shut up, dog. Oh, every podcast.
I think she's barking at the bats again. So they then contact Pantless, and Dr. Adams, you know, says that you know he is Dr. Gelder, and you know there was an experimental beam, and he wouldn't try it on someone else without trying it on him first, and it went horribly wrong. And Bones is just like, yeah, I'm not sure. And the captain's like, well, no, what do you want me to do? And he says, look, I'm required to enter any reasonable doubt in my log, and you're required to respond in yours. And then you get a lovely look and raised eyebrow from Spock. It's
Yes, because McCoy's basically manoeuvred Kirk into doing what he wants, which is nice.
I like it.
But I do like the fact that Kirk then asks for an expert to come with him. I think that's a good move from Kirk, even if it turns out to explode in his face a bit.
Well, it turns out to be Roddenberry. And so he asks if there's anyone with psychiatric and penology experience. We hadn't heard that word before.
We had to Google that, and it's the study of imprisonment and penal crime and punishment, basically.
Yep. So McCoy says, yes, Dr. Noel has experience with penal colonies and he's a psychiatrist. And then it's like, oh, look, a doctor is a woman. And it's Dr. Helen Noel, and they may as well be playing that stripper music. The way that she's directed to stand and move or whatever, it's just like, oh, fuck off. Yes, it's a doctor and it's a woman. Get over yourselves, you fuckwits. This is supposed to be the future.
She's played by Marianne Hill, who played Deanna, Fredo's out-of-control wife in Godfather Part 2. She's also in Mission Impossible and 60s Batman.
Okay. There's quite a lot of overlap with 60s Batman.
There is, isn't there? Yes. And possibly a connection between her name and the Science Lab Christmas party that we hear about.
Oh, don't. Because it's just like, oh, don't you remember the Science Lab Christmas party?
Yeah. Kirk fraternising with junior members of the crew, which is clearly not a good idea.
No.
But hey, Christmas is still a thing. Although, of course, it's not necessarily with any religious content. It's barely got any now.
No, but the problem here is that Christmas parties are still a thing. Office Christmas parties. You would think that somehow they got rid of those. Roddenberry has the idea that humanity has evolved. This is proof that it has not.
Of course, Christmas is still a thing in generations as well, but we don't talk about that.
They don't have office Christmas parties, though, do they? I mean,
No,
it's
they
the
just have
science
Christmas kitsch.
lab. The science lab Christmas party is just like, oh.
Originally, it was going to be Rand beaming down with the captain, which would make less sense, to be honest. So
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't go with that in the end.
The thing is, as well, even if you had got off with the captain at the Christmas party, you wouldn't, the first time you're asked to be there as an expert and you're getting in the transporter, go, oh, do you remember? You wouldn't say that, would you? You'd just be professional, wouldn't you?
One would hope, but, you know, neither her nor the captain are particularly professional, so...
And then this is what I like. They've been down and the lift goes all funny and Kirk grabs her out of fear. There's no she grabs him.
Yeah, I think that was Shatner wanted to get his hands on the actor, actually, but there we go. We get the map from Where No Man Has Gone Before again, although it's been altered slightly with the masts taking out at the background and the foreground doorway altered. I guess Federation architecture must be standardised. which is okay. I can take that as a push.
For an institution, yes. I get that. That makes sense. And then they're met by Dr. Adams, who...
Can we talk about the logo for the Pantless 5 institution?
Yeah, tweak your nipple logo.
It's an unfortunate placement, isn't it?
Oh, it's like you can't wear pants and we'll tweak your nipple.
Yes. I mean, that's, again, cruel and unusual treatment. This is Dr. Adams, played by James Gregory, who's in the Manchurian Candidate.
Oh, okay.
Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and all the telly since the early 50s, basically.
Okay.
He's quite accommodating to begin with. You think he's a nice one, but then you quite quickly realise, no, he can't be a nice one, otherwise there's no plot here.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And it's stupid that Kirk offers his phaser. And he says, oh, no, don't worry, I know how much you rely on your phaser, sort of thing. And it's like, hang on a minute, you're going into prison and you're not going to take the weapon off me? That would worry me personally.
Yeah, it should automatically ring alarm bells, particularly given how much Kirk has said before, refresh the penal code. Maybe it's the fact that he's had to go commando and he's distracted by being pantless. Then you get, this is Dr. Adams. And instead of saying this is Dr. Noel, they're like, just call me Helen, otherwise we won't know who's talking about who. Fuck no. If anybody is the doctor who's going to give way, it's Dr. Adams, who should offer, first of all. Secondly, the moment you say, just call me Helen, you're putting yourself beneath him. Don't do that. You deserve equal status. If necessary, go by surnames. Noel and Adams are different. Plus, how much harder is it to say Dr. Adams or Dr. Noel? There is no confusion there. This is just somebody writing going, oh no, we can't possibly have women with an equal status with men. And that's why she's in the skimpy outfit and fuck off. Just no.
Yeah, I mean, as much as they are damn sexy, it's just like, I do rather wish the women all had the same uniform as men, because
it was nice when they did, weren't it? Because we had number one in the same uniform, didn't we?
Yeah, it felt a lot more professional, didn't it?
It did.
I mean, I was looking at Nichelle Nichols' legs, and I was seeing on the bridge thinking, wow, she had pins. But even so, it's like, really?
I mean, I know that women in the 60s found it empowering to wear mini skirts because they...
It's not a good look now, I think it's fair to say.
I think we're more aware of the inequality now, but I know...
Or I think we said this before, if some of the men had them on, like Next Generation, then that would have felt all right. As it's a uniform alternative choice, fine.
Yeah. I think the thing as well is, although a lot of women found it empowering wearing mini skirts, you don't tend to get Uhura, for example... The way it's shot and the way she moves, it tends not to be sexualised. She's just wearing it. This particular character, the way it's shot, the way she moves, it is sexualised.
Yes, yeah.
And then Dr. Adams introduces Lethe. You said that was what she was called? Lethe?
Yes, Lethe, which is another Greek mythology reference. Whoever drank from the river Lethe experienced forgetfulness. Okay. So it's a bit on the nose, her name there, isn't it?
Okay, yet again.
I don't remember.
Also, the origin of the word lethargic, apparently.
Oh, okay.
Whereas Tantalus, he was submerged in a lake or something, and he had food that was just out of reach. It all sounded
tantalising. Yes.
Yes, there you go.
There
That's the origin of that one.
Yeah, I said it probably was.
Yeah.
And she says, I love my work. At which point, Quinn goes, I am most definitely not brainwashed. It's like,
It's Susanna Wasson, who had a short acting career but managed to appear in the A-Team. Hurrah!
Yeah. She was reminding me of someone, and I couldn't work out who it was she was reminding me of. It wasn't a case of recognising the actor. It might have been a portrayal that it was reminding me of. Mm-hmm. Somewhere along the line, couldn't quite place it. And then they're introduced to Dr. Gelder's neural neutralizer, which just made me think of the flashy thingy in Men in Black.
Oh, yes. Neuralizer, that was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Well, this is a lot more heavy duty now. I like the design, actually, the big light bulby thingy.
Yeah.
But that's good.
Whirry thingy.
Not so keen on the sets of the station itself, which are clearly reused from last week's episode.
They are just cave
There's
sets.
no reason for cave backgrounds here, but yeah.
So they get shown it, and all the people are sort of really blank. And it's like, oh, you do this and you do that, and it's supposed to clear the mind, but nothing happens.
How does it work? Kirk says, you turn it on, the man says.
Yeah.
This knob makes it go fast.
Oh, dear. But it's only after they've gone And you get this sort of you get this altercation between Dr. Noel and Kirk, where it's like, are we going to see this? Are we not? And then Dr. Holmes is like, oh no, let him see. And it seems to see just sort of turning on, turning off, and not a lot happening. It's only when they've gone that the operator starts saying, you will forget to remember will cause you pain, which of course is then making sense of what Dr. Gelder's going through.
Kirk talks to Spock about the differing stories they're getting about what happened to Van Gelder. Again, Adams is very accommodating, leaves the room so Spock can speak freely. They're doing their best to try and not be make us suspicious of him. But again, if he's not suspicious, there's no plot. So,
yeah, but I read that actually as the in character, in universe, the guy trying to make it that there's not going to be any suspicion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that could be. He's trying his best to put them off. Yeah. There's a purple plant in Adams' office. Hurrah! When Kirk talks about spending the night there, Van Gelder calls out to warn them. He tells Spock and McCoy that Dr. Adams was destroyed like death, which is a damn odd line. We had to turn the subtitles on.
Yeah, we did. It still didn't make any bloody sense.
Yeah, I mean, so Dr. Adams is not himself? Is that the inference? Because this never gets explained. That's one of the weaknesses of the story. It's like, previously, this Dr. Adams had a great reputation for turning people around and being very humane with prisoners and stuff. The Dr. Adams we meet in this story, however, clearly not. He's, using it to brainwash his own staff, let alone the prisoners. Yeah. So there's something happened, but it's never explained what. Never mind. We have an acting captain's log from Spock, which is nice. He's talked by McCoy into doing the Vulcan mind meld on Van Gelder, having never done it on a human before. This is, of course, the introduction of this very cool and handy concept for the show. Originally, it was going to be hypnotism, but this is a lot more sci-fi. It's revealed that Adams has been blanking and remaking people's minds, and it's a great performance from Nimoy. Kirk shares his concerns about how zombie-like the inmates are with Noel, but she's quick to leap to Adams' defence again. He demands she goes with him to look at the neural neutralizer, and crazily gives it a go, with Noel operating it. Because that was always going to go well, wasn't it?
Oh, fucking hell. Just like, no, how stupid are you?
We're really suspicious of this machine, let's give it a go!
Oh, no.
Using it, she initially suggests Kirk is hungry.
I like that idea.
Yeah, that worked fine. And then that rather more happened at the Christmas party than actually did.
That's just ridiculous, because he says...
Completely unethical, that, but never mind.
He says, no, put something... What is he? Strange in there, I think he says, that we'll both know. So I immediately think of Dave's feedback to our last episode and an irrational obsession with unicorns. Right? That would work, wouldn't it? Why the fuck does she go with what happened at the Christmas party?
Because she loves him.
It makes no sense. That's not strange.
It makes sense. It's just very, very unethical. That's the problem.
Well, yeah, but he said strange. That's not strange.
Well, one would hope it'd be strange if he did actually sleep with the junior officers, but...
No, it should be something like you think you're a gorilla, or every time you hear the word...
pay to watch that Shatner thinking it was a gorilla eating a banana.
Yeah, but you think you're a gorilla, or every time you hear the word enter, you pretend to be a chicken. I mean, there's so many other things you can do with strange, and what she puts in his head is not just unethical, it doesn't fit the descriptor that he asks. It makes no fucking sense at all. It makes me really cross, because we could have had some amazing comedy here. We could have had Chicken Kirk.
Chicken attack, chicken attack. What you want back before it fades to black? Them I love homeless, but them come on, chicken ass. Go chicken go, go chicken go.
Anyway, surprise, surprise, Adams turns up and turns the machine up to crazy nuts. Cue Muchos shacking as he's forced to drop his weapon and communicator.
Bloody hell.
Yeah. Coming to, he seems to be all over Noel, but then sees a handy duct. It's like, oh, I'm so in love with you. Oh, a duct. It's bizarre. She has to go through it to turn the communications blackout off, fighting off a dude and electrocuting him in the process, which is cool.
Yeah, I like that.
And
that was quite grim, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But she basically saves the day.
Yeah.
Excellent. The machine is stopped, which enables Kirk to turn on Adams. Spock beams down, switches off the force field and turns the power back on, with Adams still in the treatment room to get a full dose and die of loneliness. He died of a broken heart. Spock walks in on Kirk snogging Noel, and the look Nimoy does is priceless. So yes, we never find out why Adams has started using this clearly nasty kit on staff as well as prisoners. Never explained. Hey-ho. Van Gelder has taken over the facility and dismantled the machine. And to its credit, the show ends on Kirk telling McCoy how crippling the loneliness would have been for Adams, so we're not finishing on a joke after all this trauma. And it's not treating his death lightly. But it is very slight, this episode, it has to be said. There's no Scotty and Sulu again, although at least we get McCoy this time. I like the fact that it's Noel who saves Kirk, not the other way around. That's good. And they do their best to make you think Adams isn't a bad un, but there wouldn't be a story if he wasn't, so the outcome is still predictable.
No, we got no Chicken Shatner.
And the lack of motivation for Adams is just lazy. I mean, it's just random. He's just bad guy of the week now.
And you're sort of thinking that there's stuff here that sort of, maybe it needed another redraft or something because...
It needs another pass, yeah.
Yeah, because you're thinking that maybe this whole death was that Adams's personality went because something went wrong with the machine.
Yeah.
So that's why now, because it had originally got supposedly a good purpose, that's why now he's doing bad things when that wasn't what he was like before.
I kind of remember this episode as being that the machine had a sort of consciousness and had taken him over.
Isn't that Barclay?
Is that later Next Generation episode? No, that's different because Barclay merges with the Enterprise computer. No, it was kind of like the machine was somehow sentient and it was evil and had taken over Adams and used him to take everybody else over. But no, there's just no motivation at all. It's just Adams suddenly become a bad un.
Yeah, I think there's ideas here somewhere along the line that have got dropped and it needed another pass. I think, and Chicken Shatner.
Chicken Shatner.
Or a deep fried turkey.
I was going to say turkey Shatner might be more likely, wouldn't it? But there we go.
I want a deep fried turkey. I want a moister, tastier turkey. I want a deep fried turkey. I want a moister, tastier turkey.
And we've heard from Boss, who writes, one of the things that stands out from rewatching these old episodes is how many of the themes and ideas seem familiar. Here we look into science being used for well-meaning but ultimately destructive purposes and see zombified staff and mind control rays. Of course, in most cases, these themes can be traced back to first season TOS, which introduced them. While watching this one, I was reminded of a Tom Baker-era Doctor Who episode, or possibly more than one, but I'm not sure which. Perhaps you can help with this.
No, I can't think of any prison-based Tom Baker stories, but no, I have no idea with that one, to be honest.
Unless we haven't watched it yet. Because we're doing a Tom Baker rewatch at the moment.
We are, but I say, none spring to mind.
Okay.
Oh, no, I'd tell you what, this is a John Pertwee.
Is it?
Yes, there's one, it's one of the early ones with the Master, was that prison that they'd taken over they filmed it in Dover and we went back there.
Yes!
The mine, no, something weapon. Ooh.
And it's the one where Jo's really good and she kicks ass in it, doesn't she?
She does, yes.
And it sort of projects your fears
And it gets
onto
that.
you.
Now this is the thing. That's the one where the machine has actually got a consciousness, isn't it?
Yes.
So the creator has been sort of kind of taken. That's why I'm thinking this episode makes no sense because it's a John Pertwee Doctor Who story that makes far more sense than this story does.
Yes.
Right. It's something weapon, isn't it?
Look it up.
I'll look it up and I'll inform you later, folks.
Okay.
Because that's going to bug me.
Yes, it will. It'll be 2:00 in the morning. You'll suddenly leap up in bed and tell me. While this episode heavily featured the captain, at least Spock and McCoy got to do stuff this time. Not sure where Scotty and Sulu have got to. We also got a new character in Dr. Helen Noel, although we'll probably never see her again.
No, we won't.
When she was first introduced, I thought she was just another love interest from the past, but she turned out to play a major role in saving the day.
She did,
I particularly liked the play dead and kick the guard into the electric circuits trick. Yeah, that was good. We also got to see the first Vulcan mind meld, although I'm sure he used to say my mind to your mind, so I suppose that's another thing that comes later. I think so. This helped uncover what had happened to Dr. Van Gelder, who I had previously assumed had been sent to the penal colony for crimes against acting. He was too much of an obvious mad scientist to be the actual mad scientist. I did have to laugh when, after Kirk had asked Helen about her training in the technology, when she arrived at the power station, there was just a single knob that said off and a lever to pull down. She did not need to be an expert to work that one out. No, this is true. Thank you, sir.
It's the mind of evil, folks.
Right.
That's that mystery solved. If Martin was listening, he was screaming at the
he
podcast.
was. And Dave probably
probably
as well.
Dave as well.
Yeah.
Anyways. Let's find out what Doreen thought, not of Doctor Who, but this Star Trek episode.
Well, Dagger of the Mind was really quite something. It was really quite sinister. I liked the first mind meld, and that Dr. Helen lady was just very, very sinister. I thought she had stalker material in her. The stuff that I explored was good, and it actually did quite well as well. Kirk didn't take any of his clothes off and was quite vulnerable, really. I also thought that the way they had him wakening up after Helen and Dr. Van, whatever his name was, had put the suggestion that he'd had a relationship with her into his mind, and then had him wakening up with her, well, lying on him, pretty much, was just asking for trouble. But it really was not a good situation, I don't think. I wonder what would have happened if the Enterprise hadn't ended up with the escaped man, whether they would have dismantled the treatment room or not. When they transported up the box that said that it was sensitive material and not to open it, I knew something was going to happen, something was going to come out of it or something, especially after the episode with those poor wee dogs that they dressed up in mad costumes, and after what are little girls made of, when the lady arrived in the office and she had been a former inmate and was now a therapist. I expected her to be an android. But also, she didn't get a glass of wine, or whatever it was they were drinking. So I've flitted around the episode. Not really said much, but I did enjoy it. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Glad you enjoyed it.
Yes.
Yeah, sinister is a very good descriptor of the episode, to be fair. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a good atmosphere. It just doesn't hold together at the end as a story, I find.
No. And yeah, it was obvious that the box was going to be something dodgy.
Mm-hmm.
I did wonder if Letha was an android as well, initially. And we're never told, are we, why she isn't given the glass of wine? She's just not allowed
No,
one.
she's not allowed one, yes. I don't know whether that's a side effect of the treatment, that if you then drink wine afterwards, you go all loony or something. I don't know. It's a bit weird one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right, no topless Kirk here, so that's a bonus. Excellent.
Yes. Thank you, Doreen.
Hey-o.
What did the llama god make of this?
Lamagatlog, Scottate, Ficasian, Coig, Ficasi Coig. Bones, have you ever stayed in a Turkish prison? Right then, after last week's smut and innuendo-filled episode, perhaps this week's episode will be better. Yes, it's a dagger of the mind, a dagger, but, it's only vaguely phallically shaped, just as long as no rude words come up or anything that could be possibly misinterpreted. It's not like this is happening on a penal colony or anything with experts in penology. No, okay, I'm just not to touch that I'm just not touching any of this anyway. But yes, this is an interesting episode and a good concept episode from the original series, dealing with the subject of crime rehabilitation. And in this episode, the solution is to solve the problem by basically subjecting the inmates of the prison to Fox News. They have their minds wiped and implanted with whatever it is that the person operating the machine wants them to think and feel. So yeah, Fox News, the current Murdoch media, yeah, that's pretty much it, isn't it? But like all good Star Trek, this does indeed bring up the question of punishment and rehabilitation. The issue isn't really touched upon directly in the episode. There's a brief exchange between McCoy and Kirk as to whether these ideas are actually any good or not, and Kirk, for one, is entirely taken by the solution here that Dr. Adams has come up with. And on the surface, it does look like a fairly peaceful, non-violent solution. It's definitely better than just locking people up behind bars. There seems to be more of a nobility in that. But then, of course, there is the question, if you remove someone's memories, are they the person they were anymore? And in destroying the memories, have you destroyed the person as well? And that's an issue that is actually dealt with a lot better by an episode of another famous TV show, so I won't really dig into that here, but it certainly at least raises the question. Of course, they never get to the bottom of the issue here, or go as far as suggesting that possibly the real solution here is to deal with the social and political inequalities that drive or require people to commit what the state labels as crimes in the first place. So that's an issue for a whole other episode, I fear. But yeah, it's interesting that at least that they try and tackle it. And in the 60s, at least, I guess this is possibly a bit more forward-looking and hopeful than anything it had at the time, even if it does seem a bit outdated here, and I think we've got better ideas now. As for the story itself, it is a good, tense story. There's a nice little mystery that happens the moment that a madman in a box arrives on the ship. Well, that sounds familiar, doesn't it? Through to the chase, to realising that there's maybe he's not just the criminal that he seems to be, to uncovering what Adams has been doing. Yeah, it's a good, tense little mystery way of trying to find out what's happening. Most of the time, I think we're slightly ahead of the characters, but there we are. And it is a bit frustrating at how naive Kirk is. Indeed, a lot of the latter half of the story happens just because he's an idiot and wants to try out the machine for himself. How could that possibly go wrong? But I guess he didn't have a red shirt to sacrifice, so oh well. But nevertheless, it is a good story, and indeed Adams suffers a nicely ironic fate when his own machine that he created wipes his own memories and essentially leaves him to dead. He dies of a broken brain. I also quite like the relationship that Kirk had with Noelle. Yes, it's the girl that he met at the Christmas party. She's called Noelle. Was the writer auditioning for a James Bond movie or something? Yeah, very good. Hopefully she comes more than once a year anyway. But after his rather awkward leching at this woman that we've never met before on the transporter platform and the revelation they met at the Christmas party, it was quite nice to discover that actually all they did was dance, and Kirk didn't take it any further forward, because otherwise it would have been an HR disaster. And we come here really to part of the unpicking of the myth that Kirk was a womanizer with a lover in every harbour. He's actually a bit more reserved than that, and he is a lot more thoughtful and careful with how he treats those under his employ. So yeah, that's something in his favour anyway, so that was nice to see. And we also learned a lot about Vulcans here. I think we're calling them Vulcans now, not Vulcanians. We learn why they don't have emotions. I mean, that's also another way of preventing crime, isn't it? It's not they don't have any feelings, but again, you can question about whether that leads to a loss of self. If part of what's important to you as a person is what you think and feel, if you can't feel, are you the person you were? Yes, that's an interesting thing. It's an interesting question of excitement there. And the fact that done at this level, the whole species actually gives rise to an answer to the question of why the Romulans may have split off, and that's because they didn't want to lose themselves in the same way that the Vulcans are potentially losing themselves by cutting off an important part of themselves. But again, that's another investigation for a whole other episode, isn't it? And that's also the first time we see the mind meld, which is portrayed here as something that most non-Vulcans don't know about, which is interesting. Well, I guess we become more familiar with it because we become familiar with Spock's character, but yeah, I think it was meant to be a secret this time. I can't remember if Enterprise did this or not. Certainly it seems to be something that isn't that widely known in Discovery either, so yeah, I think we'll let that one off to the past. But it's a very interesting portrayal again. It's almost a very sensual moment as Spock probes Van Gelder, so yeah, it's as intimate as the process of touching minds should be. And also, is this the start of the Kirk Spock McCoy dynamic that takes over the series and pushes the other characters to the background, really? There's that little conversation the three of them have on the bridge about Adams' experiments and penal colonies and rehabilitation, etc. So if it was, I can't complain too much, because this is a great chemistry that they've got going there, and you can see why the writers took that and ran with it. But my favourite thing about the whole episode, though, my absolute favourite thing, is the very opening shot where you see a crate of medicine, but because of how it looks in high def, or just the way it's little shot, I actually thought it was a close-up of a small bottle of pills. So when the crew member walks into shot and picks it up bodily, I just broke out in hysterics. That was like something out of Airplane. So yeah, wonderful moment that, completely unintentional, I'm sure. So as ever, I'll be interested to hear what other people make of this. I hope everybody's doing well and enjoying their freedom for as long as they can. Although I guess at least there isn't the promise of a new lives in our future. Not yet, anyway. And until next time, glory to you and your cast.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. I didn't notice the scale issue, did you?
No, I must admit I didn't either, so yes. Yes, Kirk is an idiot in this.
Yeah, he is. He really is.
And Babylon 5 did, whole thing about mind-wiping criminals, and yes, that's a really, really powerful episode of TV. The Garden of Gethsemane, something, the title. It's something about the Garden of Gethsemane,
it is,
anyway.
Yeah. Well, whether it's called that or not, I don't know, but yes,
it's definitely in the title. So yes, Babylon 5, something about the Garden of Gethsemane. Now we've got JJ shouting at us, but anyway.
Yeah, and it is an interesting idea that perhaps the Romulans split from Vulcans because in losing their emotions they lost part of who they are and didn't want to do that.
That would be interesting if ever they'd actually explored it, which they never did. But never mind. Well, not yet, I suppose. I suppose we got Picard, but it's one of those great frustrations. They never properly explored the Romulans.
No.
They got too excited about the Klingons and moved on to them very quickly, and that was it.
Yeah. I wouldn't have minded if they'd explored Romulans elsewhere. So they had an opportunity to do it later on in DS9 and didn't.
Well, they were too busy with the Dominion then, weren't they?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Passing through Gethsemane. There you are. That's the Babylon 5 episode. Okay, next up we have Drew and Tracy.
So we just watched Dagger of the Mind.
We did.
That should have been Danger of the Mind.
Yeah, it could have been, I guess.
Yes. Anyway, so what do we think of that one then?
Yeah, it's good stuff.
It's all right. So let's go through some points. So Dr. Simon Van Gelder, that's a gobful, isn't it?
Yep.
Is working on Tantalus penal colony
Yep. Yeah, you don't need to say to me. We know what you thought.
I read it completely wrong
Yeah,
when,
yeah.
when that sign was
Yep.
on the first.
And when they
clip.
beam the box up, and then they go, "Oh, we've lost one of our inmates." Yeah, whatever. It doesn't need to be a genius to work out where he'd gone, does it? Yes, Morgan Woodward, who's the guy who played Van Gelder.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely too sure whether he's the best actor in the world or if he's the worst actor.
This episode would win for overacting in every respect, because you had like Morgan Woodward or Dr. Van Gelder, who was completely overacting.
His
There
eyes,
was,
isn't it? He's purely like
Yeah.
hired because he's got the staring eyes.
But also the mouth and like the complete like
That's
you
what
know.
I'm saying. Is he
rigid-
really good or really terrible? It's difficult
I don't know,
to
but there
tell.
was a lot of shit shock Kirk acting
I
in this as
know.
well, dear me.
Yep.
Oh. So I do have like some questions. So like the
Go on.
first time, so Kirk says to Bones, "I want a psychologist to come down with me
Yes.
so we can kind of sort out what's going on
Yeah.
downstairs." So she turns up, Helen,
Helen Noel.
Yeah.
Yes.
who Kirk acts like, "Who the fuck are you?" First of all,
No, he doesn't. When he sees her, see, I think you thought that, but when he sees her, he's surprised because he knows it's the one that he was at the Christmas party that he had a liaison with.
But he should-
that's why he was looking like
yeah,
that.
but he should have seen her multiple times since
Yeah,
that Christmas
maybe,
party,
maybe.
because she is a member of his crew.
That's
so
the point,
that's
yes.
what annoyed me. Why is it a surprise to see her?
Yeah,
Was
I guess
Christmas
so.
yesterday?
I don't know. Perhaps it
No.
was. I don't know.
No, that's just ridiculous. And then he acts like, I don't know, like when they Helen did like the mind thing and like
Yes.
they had the flashback, and she's like, "Oh, my reputation," and "Oh, we've only just met." She says we've only just met, and I was a bit
Yeah,
like,
the Christmas
"What
party."
the fuck? Yeah, but they shouldn't just be meeting at a Christmas party.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
That really bugged me. Sorry.
Yeah,
I
I
did.
just her completely. I was like, she's another one of these insubordinate like officers of
Yeah.
his, because she was just like kept disagreeing with him and taking up Dr. Adam's side
Yeah,
all the time.
Because she's learnt from Bones.
Maybe.
Bones doesn't roll over and
he
like,
doesn't.
just
That's a
let
good
him
point.
get away with what he wants. But I think that's like a medical opinion. I think if you're...
Yeah, but he kept saying stuff and she kept arguing against him.
Hmm.
I do think, no, she comes good in because she saves Kirk,
Yeah, pretty
doesn't
much,
she?
yeah.
She goes and turns her power off and if
Yeah.
it wasn't for her, Kirk would be brown bread.
Yeah, but she was a little bit like, just pull the fucking lever down, love. Don't like take half
Yes.
an hour to like pull this down. There was an awful lot of karate chop in this episode.
There
wasn't
was,
there? It's
yeah,
just
we
like,
laughed
oh,
every time, yeah.
leave it out.
And the first Vulcan mind meld.
Yeah.
Wasn't quite like how we know it, but it's good. It's good to see.
Yeah, but that was really like intense, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Actually.
Where was Celia and Scotty again?
Again,
Got the
where
week
are
off
they? I think they've
and
been,
holiday.
Like, they're on union strike, obviously.
Yep.
I quite liked it.
Yeah, I do like this. I'm not saying it's one of the best episodes, but it's again, yeah, I know I say it every time, it's a classic episode of Star Trek
But
TOS.
I feel like I'm continually saying, yeah, I didn't mind it because I've never seen it before. So for me, I'm going in fresh. I'm not looking for like the picky bits to like moan about because I've seen it like 100 times.
No, it's good. It's good. I like this episode. Yeah, it's another one that's a little bit like, what was the guy's plan? Adam's plan. He was going to like brainwash Kirk and then just carry on with what he's doing, and I don't know.
It was quite sad at the end to say that he died of loneliness.
Yes, yeah.
So anyway,
But yeah, good stuff, I think.
but let's not leave it on the sad note.
No, let's end on. It's a good episode.
It was a good episode.
Yep.
Anyway, shall we leave it there?
Okie dokie.
Okie dokie. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye. That's a good point. What was Adams's plan? Was he
Well,
going
again,
to take over the world? I mean,
It doesn't make, because he was quite happy with them going somewhere else with Van Gelder at one point. So.
Yeah. I mean, like, I get what his plan was once he realised Kirk was coming to the colony. Fine. His plan was, you know, he's got to deal with him, so he's going to brainwash him. But why was he doing it all in the first place? Do we know?
No, it's not properly explored.
No.
Anyway, the whole business about how does Kirk not bump into her before or after, I've just done a bit of Googling, but the original Enterprise, according to that anyway, had a crew of 420. You're not going to bump into crew members regularly on that basis, are you? I mean, this is one of McCoy's team. He asked for an expert. He's not going to know everybody under McCoy. So it's not difficult to imagine that he's not bumped into her again since this Christmas party.
Depending on how long ago the Christmas party was.
Well, but even so, if there's 420 crew, you're not regularly going to bump into different crew members, are you? Although he has, as we established at the beginning, developed an interesting habit of stalking around his ship, checking up on, micromanaging his crew, which seems a bit impractical, but there we go.
And it isn't a very big ship, so I think it does.
Well, it's got to be pretty big for 420 crew to be on it, hasn't it?
Well, it depends how cramped all the quarters are. We've only tended to see the officers' quarters.
Yes, but the bottom line is he's not going to be, reviewing all 420 crew for their annual review, is he? He's going to leave that to their
their head of department, which is McCoy.
So, in other words, he's not going to bump into specialists like, what do they call it, penologists?
Yeah.
Penologists? I don't know.
Or maybe he'd just see her in passing and not even necessarily fully recognise her.
Well, he seemed not to recognise her name anyway, didn't he? And you'd think a name like that you'd remember. Yeah. But perhaps he didn't ask at the party. Yeah. It's bizarre, isn't it? But the bottom line is it's kind of understandable that he didn't, bump into her again. I quite like Morgan Woodward's performance because he is supposed to be, completely off his nads as a result of the treatment he's had. So I don't think it's unreasonable. I'm not so fond, needless to say, of Shatner's performance, but there we go.
No, not fond of that one. Is it Purry?
Yes, it is, to finish off with. Oh, yes, this is the feedback where apparently his chair broke.
Oh,
so
no!
See if you can spot the moment where Purry's chair gave way.
Hello, Args. Purry here to talk about Dagger of the Mind. I found this episode actually quite interesting as it didn't actually, and considering I've seen it lots of times, it didn't go where I remembered or expected. I genuinely expected this one to have them down on the planet pretty quickly and have, like we had previously actually in What a Little Girl's Made Of, the idea of Kirk and another wandering about a place, slowly finding out that something wasn't entirely right. And then having to investigate it. Well, in this one actually structurally as well, it was kind of interesting and different. Now the crew find Dr. Van Gelder, who's been hit by the overacting ray, and for a good while they're discussing what they should do next, and they're talking with, I can't remember the person in charge of the facility's name, but they're talking with kind of our baddie, effectively, over subspace and trying to catch him out. And I really like that scene on the bridge where they're kind of discussing what to do next, and Spock's like, well, say we're going to come and inspect, because it's, McCoy's kind of pushed his hand with saying, no, I'm going to flag this up, which means you have to investigate, kind of almost a diplomatic way. And again, that actual scene there was lovely as well, just, I'm sorry, he does the very official, I am going to have to raise it in my medical log, which means you have to investigate it. And he says, sorry, Jim, and it's just, it's almost that we're official and we're disagreeing, but we're still friends. I thought that was really well done. On the planet, again, and it helps, Kirk's like a fan of the guy. The Doctor, he's really a big fan of how he rehabilitates people. The only downside is once we get onto the planet, before you could wonder what is going on, what's up with Van Gelder, the guy seems reasonable. I mean, if you're watching this for the first time, our Doctor doesn't seem like a raving madman. He actually seems, and he's cooperative and perfectly nice. But it's when you get on and you see some of the inmates, and they do a lot of very vacant eye and open staring, and it's like, yeah, something's not right here. That's red flags all over the place. Now, there is this rather odd part of it that, and I'm not quite sure why, but I don't disappreciate the character of Helen Noel, but the fact that Kirk beams down with effectively someone he got off with at the Christmas party, and literally that's what happened. It's kind of weird. I also noticed her uniform was awfully short, but actually I noticed that last time when I watched it for The Edge of Forever. Iona caught out in this one. She said, yeah, it's a really bad fit though. It's like she's really, she's quite a thin lady, the actress playing her, and she said it almost looks like it's hanging off her. And I just wonder if they struggled to get a uniform that was a good fit, and so effectively had to go for something exceptionally short to kind of get the width in. But again, she's only in one episode, so she's not going to get fitted. About the only downside of this episode really is, aside from Kirk and Noel, and yeah, you got some shacting, you get, like I say, Iona called it the overacting ray that they put him in. Aside from the shacting, and I felt kind of the baddie's heel turn was a bit too quick. He kind of just instantly went bad. He didn't kind of go 1, 2, 3 steps and slowly become bad. He just instantly jumped in while they were investigating the neural neutralizer. And that was kind of strange. He didn't have to. He could have. There wasn't any reason he didn't think Kirk was on to him at that time. So that confused me a bit. But aside from that, I thought this one was quite entertaining, and it was interesting that Kirk actually wasn't on saving the day. It was Helen, Noel, Spock and McCoy doing their work on the ship, more so than Kirk. I mean, he did do a couple of punches and that sort of thing, but yeah, and they did even try not to have the comedy ending, which I appreciated. So yeah, overall, I think pretty solid stuff here. So all that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. I always enjoy the podcast, and I will get back to you on the next episode. But until then, bye for now.
Bye.
Is the chair fixable?
No, I think the chair's gone.
Oh no, because we did hear the snap. It was quite audible.
Spot at the moment, and yeah, very professional recovery there. So
yes,
go straight on.
Yes.
Podcasting legend.
Yes.
Yeah, that whole thing about Adams instantly going bad. I mean, he's obviously bad from the beginning, but he's fine and accommodating, and then suddenly he's like, and now we're going to completely subject you to my evil chair of evilness. Yeah.
Is that why Purry's chair broke? Was it an evil chair of evilness? And he overcame it.
Yes,
he won.
He won. Well
Yay! Done. Yes. And yes, I did. The uniform is especially short compared to others. Maybe it is a bad fit,
doesn't it? Yes, Chapel seemed a little less revealing.
And Rand's as well.
Yeah. There we go. Thank you to everybody who's fed back.
Thank you.
So, as I mentioned, we've got one more original series episode to cover before we break for Lower Decks. We're recording Wednesday, the 11th of August, our coverage of Miri. Creepy kids time.
Yeah.
Hooray. And then, yes, we'll be recording our thoughts on Season 2, Episode 1 of Lower Decks on the 24th of August. So get your thoughts in. It's obviously premieres before that, so you've got plenty of time. Then mostly it'll be 2 episodes covered fortnightly, mostly. Although we've got to squeeze in the last episode before we move house. So watch this space on that front. And obviously when we move house, we may be without internet for a bit. So there may be a bit of a hiatus. But anyway, we'll keep you up to date on our social things.
Yes, thems.
Like the smoke signals and stuff.
Yes.
Semaphore. I'll stand on the roof. There you go. Grand, we'll catch you next time. Cheery bye.
Bye-bye.
You should know that the man with the power of nature can bring you to the end of your life. And you should know by my stride and the look in my eyes that you are about to be massively forced to give up. Chicken attack, chicken attack. What you are back before.
The opening music for this podcast was provided by the talented Drew Barker.
The artwork was created by Andy Palastides.
All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at borgcast.libsyn.com.
And we have a YouTube channel as well.
You can find the Borgcast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at borgcast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to borgcast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or borgcastammo. #Borgcast.
Chicken attack, chicken attack. What you are back before it fades to black. Them I look harmless, but them can on chicken ass. Go chicken go, go chicken go. I wanna fly. The sky. You are young and you are hungry, perhaps your money. I give you this chicken today. It's eggs for your dinner, it's legs for next winter. You won't have to steal again.
Shut it down! Dingle dangle, pot. Come on. Where's the dingle?